Is it possible to beat Terraria without breaking or placing a single block? In this video, I'm going to try and complete the game whilst leaving the world completely untouched. And that's no hammering, no wiring, no placing liquids, and even no actuators. I cannot change the world in any way, like a ghost. Now, on the outset, this challenge just sounds impossible. What about a workbench, or an anvil, or potions, or spawning bosses, or, well, even getting to most biomes? And I must admit, the restrictions this challenge puts in place makes this run a very, very daunting one. But do I believe it to be impossible? Well, I don't think so. I've got a rough plan that, on paper, sounds a bit mad, but it could just mean we beat the Moon Lord. Now, before we begin, there's one mechanic in Terraria that really adds a twist to this. Dying. As when this happens, the game places a grave. As this means a block's been placed, by us, this would invalidate the run, which means if we're going to do this challenge properly, we can't die, not even once. The first task of the run is going to be finding a suitable world. As for the vast majority, this run won't be possible. So what makes a world suitable then? Well, to answer this, we have to think ahead. To have a chance at success, I believe we'll need to have access to 4 key items. First, the obvious, a workbench. These can be found naturally in the dungeon, underworld ruined houses, the jungle temple, and underground caverns. Of these 4 places, the underworld and the jungle temple are currently off limits. The dungeon could be possible, although it's fairly unlikely a workbench spawns above the range of the dungeon guardian. So by far our best bet for a workbench is to find one that generates an underground cavern. Next, an anvil. This one's simpler. These are only found in underground caverns. Find one in our world, and the run could be on. Don't, and we reset. Next, a can of worms. We'll need to fish, and this is the only bait we'll have access to get started. These are found fairly commonly in surface chests, the most accessible to us, so I'm fairly confident most worlds we play in will have one. And finally, this one we're thinking ahead, a teleportation potion. These are found rarely in cave and lair chests, and would be the hardest of the 4 to find. Why do we need these then? Because the random teleport they provide is our only way of getting to the underworld. We can't craft them, they require hallowed fish, and the demon conch, an underworld teleport, requires either lava fishing, which requires lava bait, which in turn requires the underworld, or the hotline fishing hook, which requires hard mode, which also requires the underworld. This then leaves finding a teleportation potion in a cave and lair chest, and then using it and getting lucky, as most probably our only way of getting to hell. Now, I say most probably, as there is maybe another method. We could find a holy grail seed, so to say, in which we could get from the surface to the underworld without breaking a single block. From testing, this could be possible. It would require some very lucky world gen, and I haven't found such a seed yet, but I will be searching for one. I think they probably exist. Anyway, there are other items I'd also like. Iron bars for a fishing pole, climbing claws, boots, etc. But I don't believe these are crucial. Anyway, that's enough talking. Let's begin searching worlds. That might not be possible. No. That's all from the left side then. And that's not possible either. That's it for World 1 then. Right, so as you may have noticed, watching someone explore a cave with no light source isn't very interesting. And, well, this run has the potential for there to be quite a bit of this. So for the sake of you, the viewer, for the rest of the run, I'm going to give myself a permanent shine potion buff, just to improve the watching experience. And that's our first item, perfect. After a promising start, World 2 also proved fruitless. What followed this was a series of more worlds that just weren't playable for one reason or another. However, my run on World 7 got off to an interesting start. That's a pretty interesting item. Free ocean access could come in useful. After making it to the main jungle cave, the run was still on for this world, so I'm a bit concerned about this jump. Okay, it looks like there's water down there. Let's go for it. That was an unfortunate block to land on. Okay, I think I'm going to play this world again. It looked promising. However, before I reset the world, I had an idea. Can we scout the map in ghost form? Oh, we can. Oh, a bit. Nice. No sign of an anvil, but I don't seem to be seeing normal ruined houses. It could be because they have no torch in them. Cool. Okay, let's go again. Something to note is, a world seed is linked to chest loot, so regenerating the world won't re-roll chest items. Let's give this another go. Very nice. And a piano to go with it. Ah, but that's all for the jungle then. Okay, let's see if this conch takes us anywhere useful. It's looking like this world isn't going to be the one, unfortunately. I think, from what I've seen so far, it's fairly likely we're going to get most of what we want from a jungle biome, just because its caves tend to be more open than those of other biomes, which is a bit of a shame, given that it's such a dangerous place to be early game, but a death early on won't matter too much. After a few more runs getting nowhere, you join me on World 11. The jungle was near spawn and very traversable, and adding to my good fortune were 2 good rolls from surface chests, in the form of menacing climbing claws and an armoured step stool. Armed with these, I ventured further down, making very much sure to not open the trapped chest. That would end the run. Oh wait, I think there's an anvil in there. I think that's probably usable if we, well, craft very quickly. A single anvil in a awkwardly placed position was all the jungle had to offer. Nice. Well, that's 2 of 4, but although somehow I don't think we're finding the other 2. We didn't, and shortly after I retired the world. I've been making servers on games I like for a long time now. Some have been successful, and some not so much. One thing I've learnt from these experiences is the importance of a good host, and for the next 30 seconds or so, I'm going to talk to you about a very good host, PingPlayers.com, the sponsor of this video. PingPlayers is a premium game server hosting platform, providing low latency gameplay, modding freedom, and smooth configuration, all for the above games, including Terraria. Okay, so I want to make a server and then run the Calamity mod on it, which I might be doing some videos on in the future. Okay, let's first launch it. Wow, not bad at all. Let's load Calamity. There's a very useful AI assistant for any question really you have on your server. Nice, okay, so we go to here. Perfect, that was crisp. Okay, and it's running incredibly smoothly. Clear logs, easy to use dashboard. Yeah, I am generally impressed. I would 100% use this, and I think I'm going to. I'm going to be setting up a server for channel members to play on, so watch this space. In the meantime, if you'd like to set up a server at PingPlayers, you can use the code FROSTBURN35 for 35% off. A few worlds later, I found another jungle with an anvil and a sharpening station, but further searches proved to be fruitless. After more nothing worlds, including finding an anvil I could see but not reach, I found something I hadn't come across before, an underground snow biome I could actually properly explore. And it was some biome. I need to be careful about not breaking this ice. I think if I jump on the chest, I should be fine. Despite being able to explore so much and getting so many items, apart from a can of worms, I hadn't actually gotten anything I needed yet. Until... that's a teleportation potion, and a double roll as well. Perfect. What an elite chest, by the way. Boots and a magic mirror to go with them. So that's all the snow biome explored, I think. So we've basically got the whole rest of the map, including the whole jungle, to try and find an anvil and a workbench. Having a cloud in a bottle here will greatly help us. After a few minutes of exploring the jungle, I came across a house, and it was a big one. But despite having a keg, 2 looms, and a sharpening station, it was lacking in both the anvil and workbench departments. What a silly house. The loom does mean we can craft a goblin battle standard though. I don't think there's too much jungle left to explore, unfortunately. I was right, and having fully explored the main jungle cave, I pushed on. Okay, there looks to be another entrance here. Oh, and we've got a house. But not what we want. That'll be it for the jungle then. Our chances now of getting an anvil or a workbench have dropped dramatically now, unfortunately. Never mind, let's push on just in case. Okay, so there is a very small chance we find a workbench here. No. That was always going to be a long shot, I think. Okay, so, well, apart from that ocean cave, that's everything we can explore. It's looking like our last shot is going to be seeing if it leads to anything. Although we don't have a gills potion, so it might not even be possible. Actually, would this do anything? Increases breath time and allows breathing in water. Okay, well, let's give this a go. It's not looking great. Oh no, wait. No way. You know, if this has a house in it. Yeah, that was probably to be expected. Okay, so, is there anything more we can do? Well, yes. There is some interesting tech with teleportation potions, where we can try and force a teleport to a certain location. And we could also try to gear up for a Skeletron attempt, to get our hands on a dungeon workbench. But I'm not going to do these now. They're both pretty time intensive. So for now I'm going to continue the world search. But I'll come back to this one if it, well, continues to be fruitless. The next few worlds unfortunately lacked any metaphorical fruit, and I was thinking about going back and playing World 22. But that all changed, however, with World 27. I got off to a good start. Getting an umbrella, and then a cloud and a bottle from surface chests. This good start then turned into a great start when I found a house with a workbench in, not too far into the jungle. From there, I went down, and down, and down, until, oh no way. That's our holy grail seed. Wow, okay, so just to reiterate, this seed means we don't need to find any teleportation potions, which will just make runs, well, so much easier. Okay, but yeah, we still need to find worms and an anvil, so we shouldn't celebrate too soon. Okay, let's keep exploring. Oh, as an aside, something I forgot to mention is to prevent me from breaking plants when using my weapon. I've also got a guide to environmental preservation in my inventory, just to prevent this. That's nothing in the ice biome then. Nice. Okay, I think even with our double jump, that's impossible. Yeah, that's all we're getting from the right side then. And that's it for the left. So if there is an anvil we can get to, it now has to be in part of the underground jungle we haven't explored yet. Can we find an anvil? That is the question. Well, let's go into ghost form then, I guess. Not seeing much on this side. Oh, we've got a house here. Oh, it goes up further. Okay, can't quite make that out. Let's get a screenshot and crank the brightness up. Oh yeah, look. Okay, so we have an anvil in the world, which means we can use it in hard mode. But can we get to it before? Okay, so it should be just above here. Yeah, that's not possible, is it? Never mind. Okay, yeah, there's still a bit more to explore, I think. So for the time being, wherever this track goes will be blocked off to us. We'll just die in that lava. I can't get through there. I could have had a grappling hook though. No, that has to be trapped, right? Seeing any explosives. Oh, fair enough, I'll take it. Okay, so I think either in ghost form or living form, I've explored all we can. There's still the edges of the map and a few caves underground that we could access with better movement items. But I think it's very likely we won't have an anvil pre-hard mode, so that gives us a choice really. We could try to play this world without an anvil, but obviously having the big advantage of not relying on a teleportation potion. Or we could, well, keep searching for the perfect world. Before I make a choice, let's see what we have. Climbing claws, got a double jump, 4 damage res in the form of an umbrella. We are lacking boots, but we can get those from fishing. Water walking potions, these will be great for the wall of flesh actually. I've got a good amount of wood, good amount of bars, loads of herb bags as well, plus a glass bottle so we may be able to make some potions. But not having an anvil pretty much means no crimson armor or tools, which could have been possible without it. Getting a hook will be a lot harder. We'll also be stuck with a wooden fishing pole, which isn't great. A gravitation potion would have been nice as well, just for Sky Islands. So basically we're at a huge advantage, but also a huge disadvantage. So I think I'm going to go for it. Obviously no anvil is far from ideal, but I think we could just go on forever searching for the perfect world, and maybe that perfect world doesn't exist. Yeah, I could well regret this, but let's give it a go. So we have many problems, but I think the most pressing is our lack of maneuverability, and I believe the best antidote for this is a grappling hook. It'll allow us to explore the whole overworld, plus get into a few caves we couldn't. The main advantage of this will be potentially discovering an anvil, but it also just means we can go into a cave and not have to recall to get out now. But can we actually get a grappling hook? Looking at the wiki, all these require anvils. This requires an NPC, don't have any web chests. I mean, we can't even get to the dungeon, let alone fight Skeletron. A slime hook? Now, this is theoretically possible. We could get a king slime spawn, but I just don't think we can get gear good enough to actually beat him in a fight. Also, it would just be a huge AFK session. The angler doesn't require a house to spawn, so he is in the world, but we can't get to him. This leaves 2, the bat and candy cane hooks, both from holiday grab bags. Of these, the candy cane hook is the easiest to get, so that's going to be my plan. And for this, well, it has to be Christmas. Now, this is going to be a brutal grind. Presents are a 1 in 13 drop from all enemies. With the candy cane hook, a 0.64% drops from presents, giving it an effective 1 in 2,000 drop rate. Given this will take a while, I want to be efficient with the grind and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You see, something else I need is armor. Now, again, our options in this department are very limited. All ore sets require an anvil, so these are out of the question. Ancient Shadow would be a good option, except we're in a Crimson world, and there's no Crimson equivalent. Gladiator armor would be good, but we don't have marble biome access. This then leaves the best pre-hard mode armor as the obscure Ancient Cobalt set. This is mage armor, and each piece is dropped at a brutal 0.33% from hornets and man-eaters in the underground jungle. My plan, then, is to combine this grind by heading to the jungle to get hornet and man-eater kills concurrently whilst grinding for the hook. My weapon of choice will be the trusty wand of sparking. It should just be enough damage in normal mode. First, however, let's get some more mana. Alongside mana, fallen stars have another use for us. Firstly, we can craft an enchanted boomerang. We don't have one at the moment, but the skeleton merchant sells one, who we can access in the Caven Lair. Secondly, we can use them to turn our worms into enchanted nightcrawlers, increasing their fishing power. Nice, that should be enough. Let's head to the jungle. But before I can get there, a slime rain happened. This will be good for getting presents at least. I mean, we're not currently in a position to fight the king slime. We've got a decent chance. Storage management isn't going to be our biggest problem, but it is something I'll have to consider, as I'll only be able to store stuff in naturally generated chests. After finishing the slime rain event empty-handed, I made my way to begin farming in the jungle. So I'm going to stay fairly close to the jungle surface for the grind, which will mean a few hornets and man-eaters will spawn, but most of the mobs I'll be encountering will be slimes. Venturing further down is just too dangerous for the time being. Jungle slimes will become a problem, along with just the general high spawn rates of the underground jungle. What I would quite like to avoid is getting poisoned. For most sticky situations, I can just recall out, but if I'm low on health and poisoned, that won't save me. However, I can afford to take a few risks here. Every item I've got currently I can get back reasonably quickly. Oh, the sword. I'd kind of forgotten these contained other useful items. That's probably our best weapon then. We've got a good amount of wood, so we can probably afford to make armor. Should give us a bit more defense. Nice, we got it. It is over. Perfect. Oh, the chakram as well. Okay, it seems pretty decent. Okay, so now we actually have stuff. We obviously don't want to reset. However, something I've changed which I haven't mentioned yet. So I'm now no longer playing on a hardcore character. This is because, I didn't know this, but in hardcore, NPCs drop their gravestones. So actually, as well, we do need to kill an NPC. Playing on a hardcore character would mean he'd place a block. So instead I'm playing on a softcore character, but just still, well, can't die. And something else I've noticed is sometimes on death, a gravestone isn't placed. I'm not quite sure the conditions that cause this, but it does mean that a death is probably the end of the run. But there's a small chance it, well, might not be. So that's good. So before I head back to the jungle and finish getting the ancient cobalt set, well, I mean start, I didn't get a single piece. I'm going to explore parts of the map which were previously off limits to us, in the hopes I can find some more loot, and, well, maybe even an anvil. Perfect, we're up that. Oh, okay, that's good. We can craft potions then. Nothing huge on the right side. Oh wow, so let's go to space. After the left side of the map proved equally as disappointing, I made my way underground. Okay, we should now be able to get up here. Got to be super careful about traps. Ooh, a minecart track. Not really what we want. That's not great. Okay, I think that's all the right side explored. It looks like there's a bit more to the left here. Okay, we can get through here now. Let's try not to die. And I'll take the magic mirror. So that, I believe, is all the jungle explored, which is a bit disappointing. The last frontier, so to say, will be going to the underworld and then cooking across the base of the cave in lair in the hopes of finding a cave, although I think that's just too risky. The death now does matter, as I've just spent several hours getting the hook. Okay, so what do we want to do next? We could head back to the jungle and continue the grind for ancient cobalt armor, although, I mean, the rate we can get kills in the relatively safe lair close to the surface just isn't that great, and I, well, still don't have the gear to go deeper. I could make a wooden fishing pole, find the angler, and think about starting fishing. Currently though, I don't have enough bait to make it sustainable, and I can't get more without a bug net. I do have a potential solution for this, but I think it's best done later in the run, for various reasons. And, well, I could just call it quits and find another world. In the end though, I decided to do none of these things, as I'd remembered something. You see, the trees on the left side of the map are tall enough to reach space. This means harpies can spawn, and hence means we can get feathers, which in fact I already have. Okay, but why is this useful? Well, because feathers are required for gravitation potions, and with the gravitation potion, I can get to a floating island. And on floating islands, well, you can get lots of good items, principally the Star Fury, which is especially useful for us this run, mainly for its damage, but also for its ability to light up unreachable areas, so we can get feathers. But what about the rest? Well, we got some bottles from a surface chest, and we can make these into bottled water without changing the liquid levels. It's just a direct craft. We then also have access to a placed bottle, as we've seen just outside the dungeon. And the herbs? Well, we don't have them directly, but we do have 6 herb bags. When opening them, if we can roll a fire blossom, deathweed, and a blink root, which, with a 6, there's a fair chance we can, we'll be able to craft the potion. From this, we'll hopefully get the Star Fury, which will make our grind for armor in the jungle a lot easier and safer. There's quite a few ifs there, but I think this is our best move. Let's make these water bottles. Nice, let's head to the dungeon. Bag 1. There's the blink root. Bag 2. Oh, we've got it. Perfect. And some water leaf to go with it. Let's make this potion then. Nice. There's a second. We'll take that. Nice. What a roll. I think the wings are like a 1 in 40 chance, sir. And the balloon as well. That's perfect. After some very successful floating islands, the run was very much back on, and I made my way back to the jungle to restart the grind for ancient cobalt armor. The most useful thing about how the Star Fury works is that it allows us to stay in a safe spot whilst we target man-eaters and hornets, and, well, hopefully, over a very long time, we'll get the armor. I don't think it's quite sunk in how stupid this grind is. Each piece is around a 1 in 600 drop, and I'm not getting many kills, plus I could easily get like 3 helmets in a row. I am kind of wondering if going anvil-less was the right call. I think we're in too deep now. I'm just hoping the underworld being accessible makes up for it. I did half think about just AFKing in the outer 6 of the world to try for a king slime spawn, and then go for ninja armor instead. That spawn is super rare, and I think this feels like we're making more progress. Plus the cobalt armor has more defense. Something's dropped. Oh, the chest plate, nice. Perfect. Let's carefully get that. Okay, not too bad, about 40 minutes. I will take that. Poison and immunity just makes being in the jungle so much safer. Ooh, that was clumsy. But I've gotten away with it, I think. I've got to be so much more careful. Oh, a Skeletron merchant. I think he has useful stuff. Can we get to him though? Nice. That is the helmet, I believe. One more to go. Checking the bestiary, that's around 700 total kills now, so we're getting them at roughly the expected rate. Statistically though, the last will be the hardest, as our chance of getting a duplicate is now 2/3. Okay, let's push on. No way, I think the leggings just dropped, although I've got a bad feeling they fell in lava. Oh no, nice, they didn't. And that is full ancient cobalt armor. That 23 defense feels good. We got lucky there though, not getting a single duplicate. Plus we even got them in the correct order. This has to be one of the most obscure armor sets in the game though. Like, the situations where this is a useful, viable option must be so incredibly niche. So our next task is going to be fishing. First, why do we need to fish? In this run, the primary reason is life crystals. Obviously we can't break them, but we can get them from golden crates, at a 1 in 8 chance. Other items like sailfish boots would also be nice. Now, if you've seen my last videos, you'll know getting max health from fishing takes quite a long time and requires a lot of bait. My current fishing setup consists of a wooden fishing pole and 8 worms. Nowhere near enough to get us started on a max health grind, so our first step then will have to be getting more bait. Now, currently, our only source of bait is from crates themselves, which presents a problem. To get crates we need to fish, and hence we'll use up bait, getting bait. With our low fishing power, over the long run, this won't be sustainable. So what's the plan then? Well, we'll need a bug net, as this will give us a renewable source of bait. Now, the standard bug net's only source is a merchant, so we can't get that. The molten bug net also comes from the merchant's one, so it's also off limits. This leaves the golden bug net, which we can get. It's a 1 in 80 reward after completing an angler quest, and importantly, has no prerequisite quest requirements, like the golden fishing pole or the bottomless water bucket. But with our low fishing power and only 8 bait, the chances of getting this is slim to none. And if we lose this bait, there's no way to get more, and hence no way to get more health, meaning the run's pretty much over. Which is why I'm going to make sure we get the golden bug net. You see, in Terraria, the fishing quest given is tied to the world, but the reward from the quest isn't. This means, with a conveniently timed crash, we can retain the same quest, but re-roll the reward. So the plan then is to do one quest, and then keep giving the angler the reward in a sort of time loop, until he eventually gives us his golden bug net. And then, with our renewable bait source, we'll complete more angler quests, getting high level fishing gear and potions. And at this point, we'll have hopefully reached a position where fishing is self-sustaining, where we're getting more bait from crates we fish up than the amount of bait we're using. And then, the grind for 400 health will commence. Before all that though, I have to complete one fishing quest. Jungle, we can do that. So if we don't get this in 6 bait, the run is over, and we'll have to reset. It's down to 5. 4. Oh, we got it, nice. Not too tense in the end. Okay, quest 1? No. Okay, well, it's time to rewind time then. How about now? No. Now? Ah. As I travelled back and forth in time more than the 12th Doctor, I was beginning to question whether it was possible to get the golden bug net on the first quest. However, on exactly quest 80, nice, there it is. After finally entering the timeline where I get the golden rod in my first fishing quest, I set out to begin catching bait and complete, well, some more fishing quests. Ah, yeah, that's going to be one of quite a few we can't do. This should be 30. Yep, perfect. Okay, so we should have the fishing power now to start the grind for 400 health. My plan is just to get this all out of the way in one session. is max health. Perfect. What do we want to do next then? We could try Skeletron. The cobalt shield would be nice. And I think would probably be okay, but it could be a bit risky without an arena. Paradoxically, the stronger I get and the more gear I accumulate, the more cautious I'm going to be. Okay, I think I'm going to leave Skeletron for now, and what I'm going to do instead is scope out and explore the underworld. I've got 2 water walking potions, so I'll use one now, and then one for the wall of flesh fight, if we get there. Okay, so I'm looking for 2 things really. First, if there are any new caves we can explore, and secondly, and mainly, I'm scoping out the feasibility for the wall of flesh fight. Okay, it looks like we're blocked here. Yeah, we can't go any further right. And we're blocked here. That's not great. We might be able to get further via the minecart track. Okay, let's try from here then. Okay, we're blocked here again, but we can play the same game. Ah, okay. So there's no more minecart track up top. That is as far as we'll go then, I think. That's not great. So we haven't found any new caves. But unfortunately, I think that's going to be the least of our worries. Basically, this is really bad news for the wall of flesh fight. So if we look at the map, this is the extent of hell we can explore. I can't get any further on either side. Spawn is here, so a wall of flesh fight has to be left to right. And to add to that, we're blocked here, here, and here. So it looks like the biggest gap in which we can do the fight is between here and here. But I'm not sure if that's enough. During the wall of flesh fight, the only way we could get through an abandoned house is if the wall takes us with him. I'd have to test this. I mean, we could maybe tank it once, but I mean, that's a very risky strategy given we literally cannot die during this fight. Okay, so I think now the best plan of action is to head to a test world and see if this is even possible. I'll try out various builds and also see if I can, well, tank being dragged through a house. So I'm now set up with the same gear in a test world. Okay, this isn't going too bad so far. Let's see if we can tank being dragged through the building. Okay, so I can maybe tank 1 here. But not 2. So we got the wall down to 3,000 health before the first house. I think to minimise risk, I'd ideally like to go into the fight with a build that can kill the wall before getting to the first house, which means we need to deal more damage. Before I try to achieve that, it's worth saying I don't even have to die in the wall of flesh fight for the run to be over. Even if, say, I recall or log out in time, I have no way of respawning the wall of flesh, as our guide will be gone without a valid house to spawn back into. That's why it's so important we get this fight right, as there will be no second chances. Okay, so the problem we have to solve is, we need to be able to kill the wall of flesh consistently in this gap. With our current gear, we're about 3,000 health short, so let's try a few things. Some easy upgrades come from the Blood Moon. The Shark Tooth Necklace increases armor penetration and hence damage, plus we can also get a Vampire Frog Staff to add in some summon damage. Let's test these and see if they get us over the line. Okay, nice. So we've reached the house with the wall on just over 1,000 health there. That's still, I think, too close for comfort for a real run, but it's a good start. Something else I want to test is the Demon Scythe. This weapon's gettable. It's a drop from Voodoo Demons, and would synergize well with my ancient cobalt armor. Nice. It does look like the Demon Scythe is the way to go then, but that was still a bit too close for comfort. I think I'd still like to add a bit more damage to our build. So I've been thinking, there are a few more things we can do. Firstly, remember the plants we got from our herb bags? Well, we have the right herbs left over to make magic power potions, which increase magic damage by 20%. On top of this, we can also get the Crimson Rod from fishing in the Crimson, which will just top up our damage a little bit more. Nice. That wasn't the cleanest run either. It's not perfect, but I think this is the build I want to go for, which gives us a shopping list of items. The Demon Scythe, Crimson Rod, the Vampire Frog Staff, and the Shark Tooth Necklace, plus a magic power potion, and I'd also like max mana. First, I think I'm going to head to the Crimson for the Crimson Rod. Nice, there we go. So whilst waiting for a blood moon, let's head down to the underworld for the Demon Scythe. We've got to be so careful here we don't kill a voodoo demon over lava by mistake. That would end the run right there. Nice, there it is. After getting the demon scythe, I waited a very, very long time for a blood moon, but eventually, nice. I think that was night 16. Apart from the drop of a bloody tear, the first blood moon was fruitless, so the next night, I fought the blood moon again. Nice. Cool, there's a vampire frog staff. And the necklace, perfect. Okay, so we just need to make our magic power potion now, and then we're done. And there's the potions. I'm not going to go straight into the fight just yet though, as this is so important and we only get one shot. Before we do the real thing, I just really want to get our movements down. We stand here. Let's drop the rod down. Perfect. Nice, that was clean again. Pretty good, there was a decent amount of space there. Okay, so it's time. To be honest, I've definitely been putting this fight off a bit. There is pretty much nothing else I can do. This fight makes or breaks the run. Despite being so prepared, things got off to a bad start. I'm in the wrong place. Do I need to recall home? Okay, I think we're good. I can't reset now as this is my only water walking potion, and our whole strategy relies on it. Okay, yeah, this is where we want to be. Let's go. Let's get the rod set up. Yeah, and we'll get up here, use a demon scythe. All going well so far. I've got to be so careful of these leeches. That's bad, I don't want to get hit back. I think we've got this. It's done. Hard mode without breaking or placing a single block. That was the fight we had to get right. The next fights will be harder, but I can always relog or recall. As you may have guessed, our first goal of hard mode is going to be getting a Rod of Discord, a 1 in 500 drop from Chaos Elementals. Getting the Rod is perhaps the most infamous grind in Terraria, and for us, it's crucial. The Rod's teleporting ability will give us freedom of movement without breaking blocks, and critically, will give us access to an anvil, the one we saw in the desert in pre-hard mode. Chaos Elementals are found in the underground Hallow. Again, like my jungle grind for cobalt armor, I'm going to try and find a safe spot from which I'll use my Star Fury to get kills. This is a bit more dangerous than the jungle grind though. Firstly, Chaos Elementals can teleport, so often I will have to fight them directly. And secondly, perhaps the biggest risk, is the Hallowed Mimic. This will pretty much one-shot me, so if I see one and it aggro's on me, I need to recall out. Okay, so I've got around 20 kills in 25 minutes, which is bad. Given the 1 in 500 drop rate, this gives an expected time of around 10 hours, and that's 10 hours of complete concentration. One wrong move with a biomimic, and the run could be over. Something else I'm hoping to get in this grind is a mech boss spawner. We can't craft these, as we can't get a mithril anvil, and they won't spawn naturally, as we haven't broken any altars. We'll have to rely on the 1 in 2,500 drop rate of their spawners. As the minutes and hours passed by, I was gradually racking up kills. With the grind taking so long, I had to buy new external storage. That's a mech spawner. Ooh, mimic. Yep, we've just got to recall in those situations. I think that's a Skeletron Merchant. Okay, there's not much here. This could be our only chance to get arrows though, so let's make the most of it. There's a chance I'll go for a Daedalus Stormbow later in the run. Yes, there it is. Okay, 324 kills. That definitely wasn't as bad as it could have been there. So before I use the rod to explore, I'm going to get a few things first in the overworld. The first is full palladium armor. Now we have, in theory, access to an anvil. We can make the lowest tier of pre-hard mode armor. And unlike in our fishing only run, ores we fish up from crates can also be used towards this, as we can smelt these as a hellforge in the underworld. I'd also like a blade tongue, which is a pretty decent early hard mode sword. fished up rarely in the Crimson. We'll get that first. There we go, nice. Cool, that should be enough. Let's get to a Hellforge. Now I think it's moments like this where the run is in the biggest danger. Getting through the hard mode jungle with early hard mode armor is going to be very dangerous. And unlike a boss fight, this isn't really something you'd normally prepare for. Okay, nice. We made it. Okay, so now we have the bars. Let's try and get to the anvil we found in the desert, which is potentially the one place even more dangerous than the underground jungle, especially with my gear. Attempt 1 at getting to the anvil ended with a dicey encounter with the Dune Splicer, resulting in a panicked recall out. After another nervy trip through the jungle, I found my way back to the minecart track. Okay, so I think it was above here. Okay, from memory it was a bit higher up. But I do need to be very careful of these boulders. There it is, nice. Looks like I've miscalculated. Checking the Wikipedia, it transpired that palladium armor uses more bars than cobalt for some reason. Okay, it looks like we'll have to make a return trip then. At least I got enough for cobalt, so it won't be as dangerous. This is a great house though. Got an extractonator, workbench, and a loom, nice, which will come in useful later. Okay, that should be enough now. Let's smelt this again. Perfect. The next thing I'd like is a shadow flame knife, which I realised just how good it was in my empty world run. To get this we need a goblin army. These won't spawn naturally, as we haven't broken a crimson orb. So what's the plan then? Cast your mind back to a minute or so ago. The desert house had a loom, and this means we can craft a goblin battle standard, using wood we got from a surface chest, plus tattered cloth dropped from goblin scouts. So, well, let's go and get that. But before I could start this grind, something very lucky happened. As I began my wait for goblin scouts to spawn, I thought I'd just check the angler quest, see if it was something easy. And it was. It was a crimson quest, which I was right next to. After getting the fish, I headed back to Sammy, and got this. Oh, that's lucky. That was going to be our next grind. Well, that's saved us a lot of time then. This obscure item, a 1 in 70 drop from the angler, in hard mode, after 10 quests, are the only realistic free Plantera pair of wings I can get. All others are locked behind an NPC, a mithril anvil, or expert mode. After perhaps being the first ever player to find Finn's wings useful, I've literally done 2 fishing only playthroughs and didn't use them once in either. I began the search for goblin scouts. That should be enough. So we need to kill the mini-boss for the dagger. Oh, nice. Oh, and a twin spawner to go with it. Perfect. And another, wow. Cool. So we've now got 5 mech spawners, which will definitely be enough for what we want, which I'll get into in a bit. Actually, can you shimmer them? No. Okay, so we'll still need to grind for primes. I think I'm going to find the shimmer now anyway, just to change this into a warrior emblem. After that, well, we're getting scarily close to having to fight a boss again. So I think we're going to leave him for now. See, I'm worried if I free him now, there's a chance he'll die or despawn and then, well, we won't be able to get him back. My plan then is to have one big reforging session in the playthrough, but only after I have the best gear I can get, so realistically this means just before my Moonlord fight. After leaving the goblin bound up, I noticed something. There's a shimmer there. Let's get this. I think it's that time again. Although, before I begin any fights, I'm going to do some runs on a test world. Given my current gear, I believe the Destroyer will be the easiest of the 3, so he's the one I'm going to practice first, before we make a real attempt. Okay, I have to find some nice flat ground. So my biggest concern really is the lack of platforms. Although I think the rod is pretty much making up for them here. This isn't too bad. Unlike the Wall of Flesh, we do have the luxury of second attempts with the mech bosses, albeit at quite a large time cost, due to the spawner's low drop rate. I think what's going to get me killed here is taking risks I don't need to. I just need to stay super disciplined, and importantly, not be afraid to tap out if the fight is going badly. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Let's give the Destroyer a go. This should be the easiest of the three. My Shadow Flame Knife's bouncing effect is especially good against the Destroyer, and will be my weapon of choice. Okay, we need to be a bit careful here. Perfect. That wasn't too bad. So instead of going on to the twins now, for reasons I'll explain in a bit, I'm going to fight the Destroyer 2 more times. This is getting a bit close for comfort. Okay, we've got 20 seconds on the health potion. We might want to end it here. Nice. That was a bit of a dicey one, but we got through it. Nice. Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. I really do need those bars pre-twins. Okay, so I'm thinking what we need to do in this situation is get the treasure magnet. This increases pickup range for items, so should be enough to pull the drop out the ground. Treasure magnets are found in shadow chests though, which require a shadow key, which are found in dungeon chests, which require golden keys. So, well, before any of this, we'll need to kill Skeletron first. Nice. So one reason why I've been hesitant to enter the dungeon thus far is because it's a dangerous place for me, not necessarily due to its inhabitants, but more so because of its cracked brick. This breaks on contact and would avoid the run, so we've got to be super careful here and use my Rod of Discord to dodge these sections. Nice. There's a shadow key. Nice, and they're still there. I must admit I'm not quite sure how despawning in Terraria works. Just to be on the safe side, I'm trying to be as fast as possible. Okay, so I've now opened every single shadow chest in the underworld and haven't got the treasure magnet, which isn't great. On the plus side, I have got quite a few useful potions, such as Life Force and Inferno. Does that mean we can't get the items then? Well, no. See, there is another way to get the treasure magnet. We can do this via lava fishing, the hellstone crates, which contain obsidian lockboxes, which we can open with our shadow key. So I'm currently fishing in lava to get a magnet from a box, in order to dig up treasure buried in the desert, dropped by a giant worm. Oh, we got it, nice. Let's hope the range is big enough, otherwise that would have been a very sad couple of hours. Perfect. Could have even been quicker just to farm for another spawner. Anyway, we've got all the hallowed bars we want now. On to the next stage of the plan. Okay, but why was I so keen to get the bars? Don't you need a mithril anvil to make anything from them? And yes, that's right. A mithril anvil is needed. All hallowed gear. But not for ancient hallowed gear. You see, in the 1.4 update, Relogic gave hallowed armor a resprite, but kept the original hallowed armor in the game in the form of ancient hallowed armor. And crucially for us, like lots of old crafting recipes, ancient hallowed armor is made at an altar, not an anvil. Nice. Okay, on to the twins then. Okay, let's go for Spasmatism first. The only, I think, potentially dangerous part of the fight is Spasmatism's second phase. We do have a second attempt here if it does go wrong, so we can afford to play it a bit safer. But I didn't need one. It's just past midnight, the twins fell. Okay, so we'll now need to grind for the mechanical skull. I'm going to do this in the underground desert, and there are two main reasons for this. Firstly, it has the highest natural spawn rates in the game, and secondly, I'd quite like the desert key for the desert tiger staff. Oh, it's dropped. What did that drop from then? Where did that come from? I guess something just died to lava and it dropped. I do realise the reasonably rare item I need just appearing there looks a bit sus, but I promise there's no foul play here. Anyway, I'm not desperate for the tiger staff. So that's our desert grind done. Now for Prime. So I think this will be the hardest of the three, just because he's the fastest moving of the mechanical bosses. So I think we'll miss not having an arena the most for this fight. I still need to not be afraid to bail though. Pushing for a kill is what's going to get me killed, even if bailing out does mean a very long grind. Given how accurate our dagger is, I think the strat here is to focus his arms first. Nice. Perfect. So there's really not many upgrades we can get pre-Plantera. Melee-wise, jungle enemies now drop the yellow, but have never really rated yo-yos. There's also the banana rang from clowns, which again I'm not desperate to get. I would like flesh knuckles from crimson mimics, but these are still very dangerous to fight at the moment, so I think I'll do that later. So I think I'm just going to go straight into Plantera. Another motivation for not hanging around is that we only have a limited amount of jungle accessible to us, and at our current game progression, it's being corrupted fast. There's probably a scenario where we get soft-locked here, and there's just no viable space to fight Plantera. Anyway, I'm also a bit less stressed about the Plantera fight, as a bail doesn't necessarily mean a potentially hours-long grind for a second attempt. Something else in our favour is that Inferno potions block a lot of Plantera's projectiles, and we've got a few from the shadow chests, so that will definitely help us. But that's about where our advantages end. I think the biggest problem here is simply going to be space, as we can't make an arena. We're just going to have to fly around the jungle and hope we don't die. Okay, I'm not seeing any bulbs. It's corrupted on this side. We might have to do some AFKing then. Okay, so I've just AFK'd for half an hour or so. I didn't want to leave it too long, just because I'm pretty concerned about crimson spread. Oh, we've got one. Perfect. Okay, so before we do anything, let's try and plan a route so we're not just flying around randomly. So I've scoped around a bit, and I think I found a decent path out. Ideally, I won't take any rod damage, so I'll have to be very mindful of timings. Okay, so we've now reached the elephant in the room. There's no way around having to break the bulb, unfortunately. So I guess that makes the answer to the question, can you beat Terraria without breaking or placing a single block? As no, because to beat a boss you need for progression, you have to break a block. However, in my opinion, we can kind of get away with this, as Plantera's bulb is one of the few, potentially the only, block which spawns after the world is created. So in a sense, breaking it has no net effect on the world. Anyway, to sum this all up, we probably do need to add a little asterisk to the challenge. Okay, let's, do that. Let's go up here. The reason for going on a minecart track for phase 2 is it just helps control Plantera's speed a bit more. The problem here, I think, is going to be turning. I don't think we TP yet, but it's getting close. Perfect. That was a really sloppy fight on my behalf. Also, I just took way too many unnecessary risks. Anyway, we've got it done. Unfortunately, we didn't get the Seedler, and we probably won't, as I'm not desperate to do that again. So we've now got quite a few options for upgrades. On the weapons side, the most feasible, I think, are the Paladin's Hammer, Death Sickle, and maybe the Eye of Cthulhu. There's also the Vampire Knives, which are a pretty great utility weapon. On the accessory side, the main thing I'm going to go for now is the Flesh Knuckles. A dash would also be nice, but again, the dungeon is quite dangerous, and I'm not sure how much time I want to spend there. Armor-wise, we won't be getting any better than Hallowed. That's it for the rest of the run. Given all this, my first port of call is going to be the Underground Crimson. Here we can get Flesh Knuckles, and potentially a Crimson Key for Vampire Knives. After about half an hour of grinding, the Crimson Key dropped, and not for the first time in this run, under suspicious circumstances. This is just looking very dodgy. Okay, I mean, I'll play now the uncut footage of the key not being there, and then the key being there, so. Nice, got them. Okay, let's go find this Crimson Chest. I think it's going to be safest if we come down on the outside. look at that. It just shows I've got to be so careful when teleporting. One click would have ended the run. Carefully making my way down, I spotted the crimson chest. Nice, there it is. Perfect. So what I'm going to do now is load up a test world and do some golem runs with our current gear. Oh wow, okay. I think vampire knives just make this free, so I reckon we can just skip the post-Plantera dungeon and the solar eclipse then. If the gear we have now is sufficient for golem, there's no need to take any unnecessary risks. Yeah, so this arena is really good size-wise. The small problem is there's quite a lot of traps, and obviously we can't remove them. I think as long as we don't touch the ground, we'll be fine. We'll just have to play the floor as lava for the fight. Yeah, no, I'd really forgotten how good vampire knives were. In my head, they'd been nerfed to oblivion over the years, but I guess not that much. They won't be of use against Moonlord, as he blocks life still. They're definitely good enough against Golem, so much so I think I'm comfortable farming him a bit. The Sunstone's a good accessory we can get. There's also the Possessed Hatchet. Nice. Nice. Honestly, I remember this being good like 10 years ago. Not so sure about now, but we'll go for it. Unlike Golem, with the restrictions we have, the Moonlord fight is going to be very, very tricky. I fought him with worse gear before, but the biggest disadvantage we have here is our lack of maneuverability. The rod will help a bit with dodging, but what we're really missing is any kind of speed, which is essential for the Moonlord fight. I think the best we can do for this is to get the UFO mount from the Martian Madness event. It's not great by any means, but it should give an okay amount of speed in the horizontal direction. Doing the Martians has other benefits as well. It'll give us our best in slot summon, the Xeno Staff, barring a daytime Empress attempt, and also the weapon I'm going to be fighting Moonlord with, the Influx Waver. Of the few late game weapons we have access to, I think this is probably the best. It has decent damage, long range, and is easy to use. So with that said, let's go looking for probes. With the Golem fight luring me into a false sense of security, I began the event underprepared and in for a nasty shock. Okay, the source is still a bit scary, even on Classic. Okay, I think he's despawned. Maybe we played a bit too cautious there. My inexperienced, combined with, now, less caution, caused my next saucer fight to very nearly end the run. This is bad. Here, I've got to just run away and wait for a heal, I think. That was a close one. After my initial dicey first attempt, I realised my initial assumption wasn't really wrong. The saucer in normal mode isn't too tricky if you practice a bit and learn the patterns. Going into the second invasion, I was a lot more prepared and started to rack up some important UFO kills. Nice. Xeno Staff, one more to go. Perfect, and there's our mount. So I'd also like to upgrade my cobalt shield to a paladin's one. This should be the wall type we want. Nice, there it is. So we now pretty much have our end game set up. There's just one more task I need to do. We're finally going to speak to the Goblin Tinkerer. Ah, well, he was here. Perfect. The cultist isn't really a fight I'm too concerned about. In classic mode, he's basically a mini-boss. Perfect. So I'd normally fly past the pillars in my videos. as deaths don't reset your progress with them, so there's no real tension. This run is very different, however, and I am pretty concerned about the pillars, as I feel the pillars are somewhere we could die pretty easily. I think this is in part down to my normal playstyle with them. I usually tackle the pillars just by throwing myself at them and dying repeatedly, but obviously that isn't going to work this time. And also, a lot of the strategies that make the pillars easier, that you'd normally do on a hardcore playthrough, require placing blocks. Let's start easy and head to the solar pillar. This is the one cheesy strat we can still use. Now for the dangerous part. So we can't use these to craft weapons, as we can't place the ancient manipulator, but what we can do is make super healing potions. Let's do the vortex next. There's no cheese here, so we're gonna have to play it very safe. As with other potentially risky events during this playthrough, before we do the last pillar, I'm going to do some Moonlord practice on our test world first. Okay, I think due to the height Moonlord is at relative to you, the influx waiver works for the hands, but less well for the head it seems. Let's give the hatchet a go. No, that's probably not better. It does deal with the leeches decently well though. Clumsy Rod of Discord use, collisions with floating islands, and just a lack of good gear had meant most of my earlier test runs had ended in failure. However, several attempts in, I was getting more of a pattern down and was seeing a bit more success. Okay, so we'll start on the right side of the world, take down the hands with the influx waiver, and then start on the head after. I think the fewer times we turn the better. Kind of a strategy, I think. Okay, so it's doable, but that wasn't comfortable. And also I'm pretty sure we got under 100 health there. With the fight looking like it could go either way, I headed back to the main world to start the process of giving it a go. Before we start the last pillar, I'm going to do a few final optimizations. First to the jungle to make use of this sharpening station, then to the dungeon for one extra summon. I think we can also maybe make use of the remaining herbs we have. Oh nice, let's make this. So I've just realised, it was a mistake to leave this pillar till last, as the only place I can craft super healing potions is the dungeon, so I've got to get there before the Moonlord spawns. I think we might just have time for it. Let's get to the dungeon ASAP. This could be close. I'm not sure we have time. That was close. That's hand one. Let's try and get this right. And two. There's the eye. Nice. And there it is. I've beaten Terraria without breaking or placing a single block. Thank you very much for watching.